Stop scrolling for a second. Because if you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, this is going to hit deeper than you expect. Not later, not someday. Right now. Because this feeling you've been carrying has a reason most people never understand. You were there, physically present, smiling, talking, playing your part. But deep inside, something always felt slightly disconnected. Like you were watching your own life from the outside, trying to understand why your heart doesn't feel at home where it should. You tried to ignore it. You told yourself you were overthinking. You forced yourself to blend in so things would feel normal. But no matter how hard you tried, that quiet voice inside you never went away. It kept saying, "You're not like them." And the more you felt it, the more it started to hurt. Because being different in your own family feels like a kind of loneliness no one talks about. You're surrounded by people, yet emotionally, it feels like you're walking alone. They don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel. And sometimes, they don't even try to understand. So you stay quiet, holding thoughts and emotions that run deeper than words can explain. But listen carefully, because this changes everything once you truly understand it. This is not a flaw in you. This is a sign placed inside you. You were not made different to feel lost. You were made different because you were chosen to see clearly where others stay comfortable. And that uncomfortable awareness you carry is not a burden, it is the beginning of purpose. You were not just different in your family. You were the one who couldn't pretend everything was okay when deep down you knew it wasn't. While everyone else learned how to ignore it, you felt it. Clearly, deeply, and sometimes painfully. You saw the patterns no one talked about. The same arguments, the same silence, the same emotional distance repeating again and again. And every time it happened, something inside you said, "This is not right. This should not feel normal." You tried to ignore it like they did. You tried to move on and act like nothing was wrong. But your heart wouldn't let you. Because the more you ignored it, the louder that inner voice became, pulling you back to what others were avoiding. And that is where the struggle began. Not with them, but inside you. The tension between staying comfortable like everyone else or facing the truth that no one wanted to face. You felt alone not because you had no one around you, but because no one else seemed to carry what you were carrying inside. It was like holding a truth that had no place to be spoken, no space to be understood. But here is what changes everything. And once you understand this, you will never see your life the same way again. You were not the sensitive one. You were the aware one, and awareness always feels heavier before it becomes purpose. Because in every family, there is usually one person who begins to see clearly what others have been living in blindly. And that person does not get peace first. They get clarity first, and clarity can feel like a burden before it becomes direction. So if you have always felt like the one who notices too much, feels too deeply, and cannot ignore what others easily overlook, it is not because you don't belong there. It is because you were placed there to see what must change, even before anyone else is ready to see it. At some point you stopped asking, "Why are they like this?" And you started asking, "Why am I the only one who sees it?" And that question stayed with you. Because deep down, you knew this was not normal awareness. You began to realize that it was not just about situations. It was about patterns that had been repeating long before you were even aware of them. The same emotional reactions, the same silence after conflict, the same unspoken pain passing from one person to another. And the more you saw it, the more uncomfortable it became. Because you could not unsee what was now clear to you. It followed you in quiet moments, in conversations, and even in the way people avoided truth without realizing it. You may have even tried to speak up at times, to point things out, to bring awareness into the room. But instead of being understood, you were met with silence, resistance, or even dismissal. That moment, right there, when your truth was not received, is where many people choose to go quiet forever. But for you, even silence did not remove what you already knew inside, because this was never just about speaking. This was about seeing, and once you truly see, you carry it whether you speak or not. And carrying that kind of awareness can feel heavy when no one else around you shares it. But here is the truth most people never realize. And it changes how you see your role completely. You were not given this awareness just to suffer under it. You were given it because you are strong enough to face it. Not everyone is chosen to recognize what is broken, especially when it is hidden inside something as personal as family. And not everyone is willing to carry the responsibility that comes with seeing clearly. So if you have ever felt like the weight you carry is invisible to everyone else, it is because your role was never meant to be common. It was meant to be conscious in a place where most people stay unaware. There comes a moment when you stop asking, "Why am I different?" And you start realizing, "I was placed here for a reason no one else can understand." The loneliness, the tension, the constant feeling of being apart, all of it was shaping you for a purpose that only you could carry. You begin to see that your sensitivity, your awareness, your discomfort, they are not flaws. They are signals that you were meant to notice the invisible, to feel the unseen, and to act where others cannot. You realize that your family's patterns, their hidden struggles, and their unspoken tensions, they are not a burden you carry for no reason. They are your training ground, your preparation for understanding things that will later change lives. And in that realization, everything begins to shift. What once felt like isolation now feels like clarity. What once felt like weakness now feels like strength. You begin to understand that seeing the truth no one else notices, and feeling things no one else dares to feel, is the very thing that makes you chosen. And that is why you can no longer settle for comfort, mediocrity, or pretending everything is fine. Your life is meant to be different, because you were placed in this family not to be ordinary, but to be aware, awake, and intentional. Every time you feel misunderstood, isolated, or alone, that is a sign that you're walking the path few are willing to see. And that is exactly where God meant for you to be. So you begin to carry your role with quiet courage, knowing that your awareness is your power. And that one day, the clarity you have now will become the light that others will finally follow. And then comes the moment that changes everything. When you realize that your struggle, your awareness, your loneliness, they are not random. They are intentional. God did not place you in your family to simply watch, to blend in, or to remain invisible. He placed you there to be the one who sees what others cannot, to be the quiet strength no one else recognizes. Every hurt you endured, every moment you felt misunderstood, every time you wondered if you belonged, all of it was shaping you to understand things others would never notice until much later. And this is the truth most people never see. You were never meant to be like everyone else. You were never meant to conform, to comfort, to quiet your awareness, or to ignore the truths your heart has always known. The family dynamics, the misunderstandings, the hidden struggles, they were all your classroom. They were your training ground, preparing you for a life where seeing clearly and acting intentionally would become your calling. Every time you felt invisible, it was because you were observing, learning, and absorbing what others ignored. Every time you felt alone, it was because your heart and spirit were preparing for responsibility. no one else was ready to bear. And slowly, you start realizing that the very thing that made you feel isolated is the same thing that sets you apart for greatness, for insight, for the ability to lead in ways your family and even the world cannot yet understand. So all the discomfort, all the silent struggles, and all the questions that kept you awake, they are not mistakes. They are your preparation, your power, and the reason you were chosen for this place at this time. And once you understand this, once it sinks in, you will never feel ordinary again, because you were never meant to be ordinary. Now comes the part most people never see. The moment when everything you felt, everything you questioned, and everything you carried in silence begins to make sense. You realize that your awareness, your sensitivity, your deep intuition, all of it was not a burden. It was a calling. Every family, every relationship, every hidden tension you've witnessed, they were preparing you to be the one who sees clearly, acts wisely, and carries light where others see only shadows. You were never misplaced, never random, never irrelevant. The truth is this: being chosen in your family is not about privilege. It's about responsibility, courage, and the ability to hold clarity when everyone else is still asleep. And that weight you felt, it's the mark of one who will make a difference, quietly but powerfully. You are the quiet observer, the deep thinker, the one who notices what others overlook. And in this awareness lies your strength, your purpose, and the reason your presence in your family matters more than you've ever realized. So, embrace it. Embrace your role as the one who sees, the one who feels, the one who cannot settle for what is easy or comfortable. Because God chose you in your family not to follow, not to blend, not to hide, but to be awake, aware, and ready to shine in ways only you can. And when you finally accept this, the loneliness fades, the doubt disappears, and your purpose becomes undeniable. You are chosen. You are seen. You are exactly where you are meant to be.